do a live here this morning in beautiful South Florida. And it is about 60 degrees here, so a little bit chilly, a little bit windy, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful day. And let's get walking, let's get talking. Let me share my view here, show you what a beautiful day it is here in South Florida. Not a cloud in the sky, a little bit windy, a little bit chilly, but nothing compared to how it is up north. So let's get going. So today, I just want to talk a little bit about the hobby, and just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the hobby, and a little bit about collecting. So we'll do a little bit of everything. Hey, Lonely Basement, blizzard conditions, not here. Check it out. Beautiful day, gorgeous day. It's a little chilly. It's about 60 degrees here today, but it's one of those South Florida days where not a cloud in the sky, and you got the palm trees, and it's just a beautiful day. So I'm enjoying my walk today, and I figured let me go ahead and just click record and talk like I do always. So yeah, hey Maddie, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's pretty bad up north. So stay safe, guys. Be careful. Definitely don't go on the streets, and don't try to attempt to do any shoveling right now. It's pretty bad up there from what I hear. Yeah, I heard it's brutal, Keith. It is. So, hey, Cooter, windy and chilly in the middle of the Gulf. Yeah, you're on your way to Honduras. Well, that's pretty cool, Cooter. That's awesome. So obviously you're on a cruise. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Definitely better than being up in New York or Boston or Jersey. It's pretty bad up there. Hey, Mitchell. Yep, it's got to be cold. And you got a cold. People getting sick up there, so just be careful. I got a little bit of a sore throat here because it changed. The weather changed a little bit from it was 80 yesterday, and then all of a sudden overnight now it went down to the 50s, and it's about 60 degrees here. But I just want to talk a little bit about the hobby and the industry. And early this morning, I was listening to an interview that Sports Card Dad was doing with Ken Golden. And hey, Peter B, winds up to 75 miles an hour up there, and a lot of snow. Not a good thing. So I was listening to Ken Golden talk on Sports Card Dad. And good morning, Steve. Good to see you. Thanks for being on. Appreciate everybody being on with me today. I'll try to see all of the chat, but sometimes I miss it. I'm on my iPhone, so it goes on and off. It gives me like 2, 3 seconds to look at the chat. But I appreciate it. Any questions or anything you want to talk about, put it in the chat. So I was listening to Ken Golden talking to Sports Car Dad, and he was just trying to do what a lot of these guys do once they screw up. Their marketing team tells them go on and limit the damage. So Golden was talking about the live stream he was on with Logan Paul with that card, the Pokemon card illustrator that they auctioned off, and how they had all these people in the room and the bidders were in the room. And basically, he admitted that the bidders that were there were really corporations. And even though that Scaramucci's son, AJ Scaramucci, won it was for a business, it was for his company. And there was a Chinese people there, which was another corporation. And basically, it was corporate. People that are doing it for marketing. Morning, Hugo. I'm sure it's a little bit chillier up there in Central Florida than it is here. It's about 60 here. So it's got to be somewhere around the 50s up there. And I just got back from Lakeland. I was spent the weekend with my daughter up there. So Golden was talking about this thing that they had going over there, the live stream, and half the interview it's him saying, I did this and I did that, and me and I and me and I. One of these things where he starts taking credit for everything, and you know how it is. Pretty much all about him. But, he admitted he has a PR director, a marketing director. Hey, Scott, good to see you from Stooks. Good to hear from you. Hey, Rafael, buenos dias. Good to see you out also, Rafael Cruz. So, you know, he basically has a whole marketing team. He has an entire organization behind him. And he normally doesn't do live stream, but when Golden did a live stream, of course, he screwed up and he started saying that, some of the people that, criticize him, they can't afford his stuff on his website, and they can't afford even to bid on their website. And, basically saying, uh, you're not good enough for me. And of course, that, you know, is not good because, 95% of the people don't have the kind of money that Ken Golden or Logan Paul or Scaramucci or Kevin O'Leary or any of those guys have. And so he went on the Sports Card Dad and was talking about it, and just kind of apologizing. That's pretty much all he did. Yeah, Peter B, Rhode Island. But yeah, he's just talking about how he didn't meant that, and the people in the chat were just criticizing him and this and that, and basically it was an apology tour conversation and trying to justify what he said. You know, so yeah, sorry for calling everybody poor, but that's what he did, Bob Boozle. Exactly. You know, and it's similar to some of the other guys. And I don't want to talk about Dr. Beckett. He's a friend, but Dr. B also went on a similar apology tour when he did the show bidding and defensive bidding and all that stuff. And yeah, most people haven't been convicted like Golden, but yeah, Kuda, he is just a marketing guy. And he talked about how he basically has all these corporations that are bidding on this Pikachu card, and pretty much that's what it was all about. Just him doing excuses. Good morning, morning for the hobby. Good to have you on, my friend. Let me go ahead and chat. Thank you. I had to wait the car. So really, it just comes down to that. Unfortunately, a lot of this big money stuff and Guinness World Book of Records was there, and he just was hyping things up a lot. Yeah, you finished listening to a Philly Joe. Yeah, it was a good interview, but you know, Golden Ken made it all about him. I mean, basically, I don't know how many times he said I and me, and I'm responsible for this, and I do that, and me and me and me. Of course, and his marketing people, his PR people, because he's got a team of people that do marketing and PR and videographers and all that stuff. I mean, this is not a one man team anymore. It's a whole corporation. So once he puts his foot in his mouth, you know, he's got to go ahead and try to pull that foot out of his mouth. And the marketing team made him go and do something like that. And, of course, it was recorded. So I'm sure he looked at it before it went out to make sure that he's not saying anything bad. Also, this postcard dad. And it was a good interview. And I'm glad that he cleared up a lot of stuff on, whether the card was a actual 10. A lot of people thought it was regraded. He said it's been a 10 since for 10 years, and who knows what happens before that. But even Logan Paul, he said that it was a corporation, I guess called Liquid or something, that also apparently owned part of that card. And what it all comes down to is that corporate, big name corporations have gone into this hobby. Yeah, when eBay says jump, they say how high, and it's exactly right, because as we all know, Golden is owned by eBay. Good morning, Rob. Rob at Cash Cards. Love that guy. But yeah, uh, it's all about corporate. And when eBay apparently, told him, or his marketing team, his people have said to him, Ken, you got to go clean this up. You got to go try to be Mr. Nice Guy and try to, make people think that you're just like everyone else, just like a regular collector. And of course, we all know that Ken is not that. Ken is, it's all about marketing himself, marketing his company. And, you're watching the image of him that he wants you to see, you know. And that's what it's all about, not just for Ken, but a lot of these guys, like Logan Paul and all that. Good morning, Steel City. It's a beautiful day now. Look at the day here. You can't get any more beautiful than that with the palm trees and South Florida. Another beautiful day. A little chilly, a little windy, but it's a gorgeous day for a walk. And thank God I'm not up north. So, it's all about the image that they portray, and not just Ken Golden. It's all of these guys that are out there. It's Logan Paul and you know backyard breaks, and that's why nothing ever happens to these guys. These big breakers, when they put their foot in their mouth, they just get punished for a little bit, and then they're like the birds are out singing today. They just go right back out and continue their shtick right after they do that. They go on an apology tour, just like Patrick Ryan, P. Ryan did when he screwed up. That's the name of the game. Very snowy here, yeah. Yeah, hobbyists can't compete with corporations. That's rightfully, Joe. We can't compete with corporations. And that's exactly what's going on right now. It's become the hobby of the big corporate. And let me go ahead and walk across the street here. I'm a big nobody here. Yeah. So that's what's happening in this industry right now. It's kind of windy here. Beautiful. That's what's happening in the industry. It's being taken over by corporate. And, he also talked about also, Guinness World Book of Records is going to be there to share all that. Let me see how we have jaywalking. No, it is jaywalking, but there's no police around here. This is a real quiet area, very peaceful. A little bit of traffic, not too bad. But it's the issue is that yeah, it's corporate takeover of the hobby. Once uh, Kevin O'Leary started with his card, which also was bought, again by the Shine Wonder Shine Index or whatever that's called. You know, the high end cards now are all going to the corporations, where they're basically they had 2 feet of snow, 8 cards left. Yeah, the hobby will remain. I mean, we're talking mostly about the industry, and I'll talk a little bit about the hobby itself. But the industry that's got in here has really, taken over the high end of the market. Uh, Thanks, Frank. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good day here today, and we'll do my walking and feeling good, getting back to my normal self again. Thank God, and thanks to everybody that supported me during my tough times, man. New York Lou, just texting with New York Lou. He was sharing with me his beautiful Walter Payton collection. He's got autographs and stuff. And Walter Payton rookie in a nine. I'm jealous of that. But we need more collectors like New York Lou, who's a true collector, and he never sells, or he very rarely sells. Even though I'm trying to trade some cards from him, but we'll work something out in Strongsville. But this, it's now just become the hobby of the industry, the hobby of the big names, the hobby of the new big corporations that are coming in. He said one of the underbidder on that uh, illustrator card was a Chinese company or from Hong Kong corporation also. So, you've got corporate people bidding against each other who, these cards essentially are being bought by a group of people. So, of course, they're going to be selling for ridiculous amount of prices, the, all of these cards that have been selling lately, with 3 out of the 4 highest selling cards now in the hobby are modern cards. And they're attributed to these corporations that are buying them. I think other than the 9.5 52 Mano that sold, all those other cards are either going to Kevin O'Leary or other corporate groups that are buying it, including, of course, the Paul Skeens Major League debut went to Dick's Sporting Goods. So as we get these corporations coming in, you know, it's good that we're getting a lot of exposure for the hobby, but it's bad because they're pricing out and really overpaying, in my opinion, for many of these cards, which should never be priced the way that they are. Yeah, exactly. They're all fractional owners. And, sure, I can get all my friends together, including Mangini and Lou and all these guys together and probably buy $1 million card. But, you know, I may only own 5% of that card. And, the other guys may only own 5, 10% of that card. So it's a different market that we're living in today for the industry. It's, you know, it's on the way of corporate, and that brings on corporate greed, and that brings on all about marketing. And, Golden talked about that in the interview, how a lot of these things are literally marketing expense. And, you have these guys that get, 5, 10, 15 million views. And, that of course gets them more exposure and helps them, bring and promote and these big cards. So, I think it's overall it's a good thing because it's bringing a lot of attention to the hobby. But in the long run, I think that the more corporations we get in and the more things, guys like that come in, that kind of takes us out of the equation when you're looking at buying some of these big cards. And even the Honus Wagner that sold for 5.1 million. I think it was yesterday. Uh, we don't know who bought that. That may have been an individual collector, but the days of an individual collector buying those big cards is probably over. You got to get a group of guys to do that, and all of the guys that are doing it seem to be now people that are going to open corporations or websites or are big on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and they use a lot of that to build up their brand, to build up their name, to build up their viewership, sponsorships, or whatever. It's pretty much, in my opinion, all into marketing. And like Golden says, he's got an entire marketing team, a PR team, a camera crew. I mean, you know, it's not a one man band. He's got hundreds of people working for him, just like all these other guys. And, that's why sometimes when they go on live streams, like I'm doing right now, you know, they're not, they show their real self, not the image that they portray on the King of Collectibles or on a recorded video and stuff like that. And that's a shame because, you know, people need to show who they really are. Yeah, the Skeens cards, Dick's Sporting Goods, that's, that card would have never sold for that much money. And yeah, Bob, Golden needs a people crisis team, which is what he did. So he's like, you got to go and you got to try to talk to the little people us, because we're the little people. We're the people that he says can't afford his product, or that he really doesn't need us, and so on and so on and so on. And just like Pac-Man, that says, don't tell me you're broke. You know, and that's what this industry, or not the hobby, because the hobby is us. I still think the hobby is us, but the industry is the corporate industry. And as more of these corporations start buying each other out, eBay buying out Golden. Hey, Mangini, always great to see you, my friend. Mangini, you're getting priced out of all high-end cards because the corporations are buying them all. But you know what? Mangini doesn't care about that because he doesn't buy those real high-end cards. He goes after some of the rare stuff that people are ignoring and not even paying attention to. Yeah, you got to call these guys out. The hobby is different. Yep, that's right, John. The hobby is different than corporate. So, John, how's the weather over there, my friend? Look at the weather over here. Gorgeous, beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. Just a little bit chilly. Well, I mean, we'll call it chilly in South Florida when it gets to 60s. But, I still see guys out here with t-shirts, stuff like that. And, sunny but cool, yeah. Rare miscut cards. Yeah, that's what he's. Bob says the weather is blue. Yeah, the sky is blue here, but the weather's blue over there. Yeah, John's trying to put together a 1975 set with all miscut cards. You know, that's Dylan's. I guess satanic set. Dylan would hate that. He couldn't stand looking at that set. But those are the type of things that I really admire of collectors when they collect stuff that is different that they really like. You know, collectors like Hitman and 7 Degrees in Minnesota. God, that's horrible. The anti Dylan, yeah, just the anti Dylan. But I love that. I love the real collectors. Like Hitman 23 that just goes out there and goes through dollar boxes and finds the stuff that he loves and puts them in binders and just enjoys the hobby. So the industry, it is what it is. We can't control it. All these companies are going to be buying out each other. Um, yeah, keep education at the forefront, Bobby. That's the main thing. We got to get these young people to be more educated. And Bobby Burrell is one of the best guys out there. He's been in the hobby a long time, one of the experts. And, you know, we got to teach the kids that the hobby is not about these big cards and stuff. It's not about the influencers. It's not about the marketing. And Ed size Dylan. Yeah, Dylan's not a big guy. And that's an understatement. But, we've got to help the people in the hobby, enjoy the little things because it's the little things that count. It's the small things that count. In life and in the hobby, it is the little things that count. And it's about the hobby. It's about collecting. It's about enjoying the cards that you have. And it's the search. Going through those dollar boxes. I love guys that do that and put them in binders and learn about the card, learn about the sets. And yeah, Dylan's still sleeping. It's early in Hawaii, but he'll join in sometimes, even this early. So it's all about the fun of collecting, and the industry's taking some of that away from us. I mean, now we hear that even ComC is maybe bought out by eBay or whoever. So I think we're going to get to a time that there's probably, well, we're almost there. We're not already there. That you're only going to have probably three companies, you know, collectors with PSA and all their companies they own, eBay that owns, Golden and a bunch of other companies that they own. And yeah, the hunt is the fun. That's right. And, projects and stuff, that's what I am into. But, and you've got, of course, Fanatics. Well, Fanatics is part of the owns Tops and all that stuff. So we're getting to that point if we're not already there that the industry is going to be basically owned by three main players, and all the other guys, like the Beckett and SGCs and even ComCs are going to be going down. And it's sad because the variety of the competition and all that is going to be eliminated. But for us, we need to refocus and try to avoid getting into all that stuff. Yeah, they can't own the fellowship, and that's us. That's what we got, you know. And the hobby, a lot of are going to be losing people because of um, the kids that are breaking and losing and all that. I saw somebody that I don't remember where it was. Somebody that spent $10,000 in breaks, and good morning, and he ended up getting like $9,000 worth of cards, and he said it was successful. He was successful. I'm going, what? Yes, 10,000, and you got 9,000 with the cards that, for the most part, probably cards that you didn't really want, and that was a successful break. And that's what we're coming down to nowadays. You know, how much, how little can you lose? So it's gotten a little bit crazy. But you know, back to the hobby, we got to be patient with what's going on and with the hobby, in my opinion. And we have to enjoy it. Good morning. We have to really, yeah, yeah, that's right, Lou. You can't, you just, I'm not a fan of breaking, and I think that it's ruining the hobby for many, many, many people. And I'm just hoping that out of all the new people that are coming in, and again, the good thing about all these corporations, all the news, and all the hype, and all these Logan Paul things, and all that, it is bringing a lot of new people to the hobby. And that's great, but we need to keep these people in the hobby. And if they continue following those guys and those trends and those breakers and those guys, they're going to be disillusioned and they're going to drop out of the hobby because they'll see that it's not for them. Either it's for the rich or it's, they're losing. They didn't win the lotto in that break. And that is going to be the downfall of, many of the new people that are coming in through this marketing push or through this, whatever you want to call it, maybe fake news out there that, that this hobby is, or the industry is so good, because the industry right now is not that good, but the hobby is great. So how do we get these kids back into the hobby? Yeah, they teach people to buy a box. That's what the breakers do. You can't buy a box. With the way the prices are nowadays, you can't go buy a box anymore like you used to. And if you can still buy the 2026 Topps Series 1. But, my understanding is they printed, I think, over 5 million cards of each player, and that doesn't include the parallels stuff. I mean, those are going to be, you know, not even dollar box cards. Those are going to be penny cards in the end, because there's just so many of them out there. So anybody that's thinking they're going to make any money on all this stuff is I'm sorry, but you're not. Always give cards to kids because they hold the future of a beautiful hobby. That's right. That's right, Lou. The kids are the ones, and I try to do the same thing. I try to give kids some cards and stuff, and you know, it's the way you got to teach kids. And I've always talked about My kids are grown up. Hey, Ziggy, good to see you here. So, yeah, I mean, my kids are grown up, and you know, in the old days, yeah, they used to open packs and stuff, and I used to open packs, and yeah, I've done some breaks. Used to do breaks in the beginning here and there when they were cheap, but you know, it's passed me by, and I think the breaks are now so ridiculously high, and the hits are so few and far between that it's not fun anymore. Pick the fights so we know we have a chance of making a difference. So keep videos like this made. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I'm gonna keep making videos like this because I'm not like a Ken Golden who goes on live and then we see the real Ken Golden, who he really is. That he doesn't care about the little guy because we cannot afford his stuff, you know. But I keep it real because that's who I am. I'm just telling it like it is. I tell you my opinion, whether you agree with it or not. What you see is what you get here. So I think the goal for us in the hobby and industry again are two different things. Good morning, Chris. Yeah, Golden is morally bankrupt, but it's about the marketing. It's about the image. That's what it's all about for them. You know, so the industry is in my opinion going down in the dumps, but the hobby is still strong because we have a lot of collectors like Mangini and other guys and me that just love the cards and are never going to give up the hobby. But, we'll never be able to afford the kind of cards that they're buying right now in these auctions. When three out of the four highest, most expensive cards ever sold are bought by corporations, that's unfortunately not a good thing, you know. But we've got to get the kids in the hobby. And like I was saying before, when my kids were growing up and stuff, they did open packs. But if I had kids today, I wouldn't give kids money to buy packs. You know, if they wanted to buy packs, when you go out there and you earn your money, you cut the lawn and you wash some cars and you earn and you buy the packs. But I don't have a problem giving a kid, if I had small kids, $20, $30 to spend on cards if they spend it on dollar box cards. Because for me, that's how they get into the hobby. Let's see, Mitchell, call me crazy, but I would love to own some of those cards. Own cards, not their values. Oh yeah, sure. Who wouldn't want to own some of those cards? Those are all great cards, but the value of those cards, we'll never be able to touch any of those logo man cards and stuff like that anymore. Those are going to be going to the big boys, and we can't play in that game in that sandbox anymore. You know, I think the days are over for the collectors for those huge cards. And so for me, if I had kids or if you guys have kids, give the kids $20, $30, $40 and tell them you can buy as many cards as you want, but you got to go through the dollar boxes. Because what that does for them is that gets them looking at different cards, gets them learning about the sets, learning about the cards, learning about some of the different players. And they're going to pick out cards that they really like, not cards that are, worth a ton of money, but cards that they look through and they pick them out over, looked at 50 cards and they found one they love. That card's going to be the keeper, you know? And I think that is the way that you get kids involved and get them learning and loving the hobby itself. And, they'll get cards from all different years. They may get cards from the, you know, 2020s, from 2010s, and even maybe some vintage, instead of going after, like you just said, Rob, the kaboomies and the ones that are being hyped, and that's what's happening, It's like, oh, you got to get a kaboom, you got to get an anime, you got to get a downtown, you know. Those are the cards that are hyping. But will those cards be worth anything in the future? Or do you really love those cards enough to buy those cards and keep them? You know, most of them buy for the hype or to share with their friends. Look, I got a Kaboom, I got it downtown, you know. So, so what? You know, do you love that card? Is that a card that's going to be a long-term hold for you? You know? Yeah, teacher discipline. Yeah, don't get good. Oh, bro, don't get good movies. But yeah, great comments, guys. Thanks for all that. And of course, I agree with you on all that stuff. Most won't stay with the hobby, which is sad. But those who do will come to appreciate it better, and that's a great, great comment there. And they will come to appreciate it a lot more because they have cards that they loved and they enjoyed, and the cards they get from that pack that they opened or from that break that they got. 99% of those they didn't want. They don't want them. And I was watching the video of the West the card show that the guys went to out there, the West Coast Card Show, I guess it's called. And they were saying that they saw kids opening packs near the trash can or on the trash can. And as they pulled the packs out, they would throw them away, throw the cards away. There were more people hogging. Yeah, yeah. They would throw the cards away. It's like they would keep 3 or 4 cards, and the rest of them went straight to the trash. I mean, come on. What kind of collecting is that? You know? And that's what the kids see when they see these breakers and stuff like that. Yeah, I think we should hang around the trash can, Bob. That's the way to do it. Hang on the trash can and just get those cards before they throw them away. And surprisingly, you never know. Some of those cards may be worth something, but at the very least, you know, enjoy them. I mean, hell, I won't throw cards away almost for nothing. Yeah, I love the cards from my childhood. That's a great comment, Chris. And they're considered junk wax. And they are junk wax, but those were our cards and cards that we remember growing up and players that we remember growing up. I mean, how many of these kids even watch these sports or even look at these players or even know who the hell these guys are? You know, maybe they were hoping to meet Jose Altuve. Well, I think Dylan wanted to meet Jose Altuve because maybe that's somebody that's his height. Yeah, that's a long comment over here. See if I can read it. Breakers open packs looking for the chase cards on the table. Yeah, they look for the chase cards and the rest of the breakers, the rest of the cards, they dump them. It used to be that the breakers used to mail you all the cards you won in the break. Now they only mail you the hits. The rest pretty much are dumped or maybe given away, I guess. I don't know what they do with the rest of those cards. But, as far as I know, over here in South Florida, we have the Backyard Breaks, and their office and I mean, they got an office. I think they got about 100 employees or something like that. Happy Monday, my friend. Thank you. They got about 100 employees, and their office is right next to the PSA. Well, it used to be the SGC building, but it's PSA building now. They're right next to that. And what they do is they have a deal where as soon as they break, that next day, they're dropping those cards off the PSA, which is, like a few blocks from their place. And they have a deal with PSA to get those cards graded, like, immediately. Well, us regular dudes, if we do send something to PSA, we gotta wait months and months and months. Yeah, Bobby. No, man, relax. Yeah, yeah, those are cards of the aristocrats. That's what it is nowadays. And the guys that do the breaks and do get those cards, the first thing they're looking at is to sell them. They're not looking to keep those cards. You're on Team Rockers? Yeah. Why aren't they breaking it in their backyard? They don't break in their backyard anymore. And you know, there's some guys, again, the guys that it's all about marketing. The only aristocrat I like is the gent, Bob Boozle. Boozle is the Hall of Fame commenter, and somebody's got to get him a YouTube patch, YouTube Hall of Fame patch. You know, talking to Ray from Philly out there, and Brad and Scotty Tradition. Can we get Bob Boozle a Hall of Fame commenters patch, guys? Can we do that? Maybe we could add Mike Petty to that list and get those two guys a special patch for the YouTube Hall of Fame commenters. Come on, guys, let's go ahead and do that. And talking about the YouTube Hall of Fame, you know, it's funny because I even got a vote. I was watching some of those things. Somebody voted for me, and I'm already in, thank God. But I'm still getting votes. Yeah, agree with them patches for sure, man. You guys deserve it. You got Boozle and Petty that are constantly on supporting us. You know, there's a lot of guys like that out there that are constantly supporting us, and some of them started channels like Ruben Snyder, Confluence Sports Cards, and some of these other guys. But you know, you guys, the guys that don't make videos, the guys that are just on the chats, the guys that are watching the videos, those are the guys that we owe everything to. Us YouTubers are nobody without you guys. And we consider you guys friends, whether it's chat friends or real friends. You know, commenters are appreciated. That's right. You know, we wouldn't have channels without them. Of course, Scott, Spooks, and yeah, and Stoops and Theo. Hopefully, you guys get into the Hall of Fame. And a reminder: tomorrow's the last day. All the pretty people make videos. Hey, man, I don't know how pretty I am, but I'm making videos, and I don't show my face too often. You know, breakers are not good for the youth of the hobby. I see the 15, 18-year-olds renting a table to show, sitting there with a sign buying. Yeah, that's right, Lou. You know, that's what happens. You know, and they're kids, but you know that's they see the Jeff Wilsons of the world. They see the Pac-Mans. They see the Mojo Sports, and those are the videos that are shot at them through YouTube algorithm. And you know that's unfortunately the industry. And we got to get them out of the industry and get them into the hobby, the collecting aspect of the hobby. You know, get them into something they really love. Uh, no, it's not good. I mean, it's yeah. Look, they, they learn a lot. They learn business. Hey, Chris. Yeah, Chris doesn't make videos, but yeah, you're on Facebook, and that's great. You know, but yeah, like going back to Lou's comment there, it's good for kids to learn business because unfortunately in schools nowadays they're not taught about finances, they're not taught about business, they're not taught about you know any of that stuff, unfortunately. And I think it's something that you know they need to be taught about real life, and unfortunately they learn real life through real life. And this hobby, the industry, you go back to the industry, they're not taught about value of a dollar. They're not, Chris. You know, and what they're taught is what they see on social media. And I'm kind of happy that they're going to, the social media is getting sued, so they can only have, you know, you got to be 18 years old and stuff to be on some of these sites. But you know, it's a it's a tough thing because it's good that they're learning about business, and they're doing that by buying and selling cards. But it's bad because it's a losing game, and they're going to learn the hard way when they start losing money and flipping cards that maybe they make a little bit money here and there. But the longer you hold those cards, the more money you're going to lose on those cards. So it's a good and bad. But I guess at the end, it's a good thing because at the end, they'll learn the hard way. Just like that drug addict, that the only way they're going to stop is when they hit rock bottom. and that's how they learn. You know, hey, I got the hobby brigade. What's up, Joe? Say hello to Mrs. Diaz for me. And so, you know, it's it's not good overall for kids to be involved and seeing all this, guys. I only wish that they would, you know, yeah, I agree, Lou. Take the common cards, and donate them to a hospital and donate them to kids who really are going to appreciate it. That's the way to go. And but yeah, man, we got to get the kids in the hobby, get them out of the industry aspect of it, and getting them in the hobby. And it takes time to do that. And we may not keep all the kids that are coming in the hobby, but if we can keep a certain percentage and keep this hobby alive, and maybe even move some of these kids into vintage eventually, I think that's an awesome thing. Tough thing when the parents pay for the cards and the losses don't matter. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. That unless the kids have to make their own money by cutting lawns and washing cars or doing other odd jobs, and then spending it on breaks, and then losing the money, then it'll matter because they'll see how tough it was to make that money and how easy it is to lose that money. So we gotta change that. We gotta change the way that the kids are learning about the hobby and getting them into the hobby and out of this industry. And the industry is really corrupting a lot of these kids. And like I said before, there's only going to be three companies. They're monopolizing this business with collectors, fanatics, and eBay. I mean, with eBay buying out Golden and all these guys are buying each other out. And then the big cards, like I said in the beginning, all the big cards, these huge sales are not a collector buying that. It's a corporation. And now you got corporations involved. That's a tough situation. So we got to get back to real collecting, like Theo. You know, Theo is the type of guy that I admire because, he focused his collection on Clemente. And, that's what it is. And that is, he appreciates every single card he gets. It's for the love of collecting, the love of Clemente, and the love of the hobby. And that's the way, things should be. Just like Mangini, the love of the miscut cards. He wants to build the 75 set all miscut. The anti Dylan, those are things that I really admire. I really love. And yeah, we do want to collect nice cards and we do want to collect, centered cards and all that stuff. And that takes patience. So patience is another thing I wanted to talk about because in this hobby you have to be patient. You can't go out there and go crazy and all of a sudden you love, you know, vintage and you want to start buying every vintage card that you like. You know, focus on the cars you really love. You know, anti golden. Yeah, I guess I am anti golden. I just don't like all these marketing stuff. And you saw the real golden when he went on my live and said we're not we're not worthy. The same with Pac-Man. You know, who said, I don't want to hear you're broke. You know, those are the real guys, not the marketing guys you hear. And the Jeff Wilsons that it's again all marketing. No substance. And we got to get back to the real people in this hobby and give to the real people and watch these real people. So that's why I encourage everyone to vote for that can vote. Okay, again, anybody is a content creator, vote for the YouTube Hall of Fame. Tomorrow's the last day, and I encourage you guys to vote for the good guys in this hobby. Don't do like the sports car dad. That even though Dustin's a good guy, kind of like him. We met him a few times, but he voted 10 times for himself. Come on, Dustin. I mean, yeah, it's not against the rules, but that's not really. the way it should be. That's not really ethical, you know. He gives himself 10 votes. My 10 picks are all me. And it's not illegal. I can do that. Yeah. There's a lot of things in this world that are not illegal, but they're just not right. And you shouldn't really be doing that. You should give credit to the people that deserve the credit. I mean, come on. You know, if you're listening to this, Dustin, at least give your friends some votes and vote for him. You know, vote to some of these guys. Hey, my friend, Vincent the Flood. I was on his. We did a recording together, and if you haven't seen that, I don't know. I know it hasn't gotten too many views, my friend, but you know that's okay. It doesn't matter because the people who viewed it were people that we wanted to view them, the good guys. So vote for the YouTube Hall of Fame tomorrow. Give these guys, a boost, give them a shout out. And for me, when I was voted in last year, it was literally one of the greatest thrills in my life. And it means so much just to hear your name. And even if you don't win, just to know that there's people out there that like you and care about you. You know, yeah, we had a great time. We're only going to talk a little while. I think we went like way over an hour or something, but it was fun. It was fun. So, let's support the guys in this hobby that are the good guys in this hobby. Let's help out some of these smaller guys that really are great collectors, and let's encourage a lot of these young guys to look at the hobby like a hobby, not like a money making scheme or a machine to make money. You can make money the real way. Go out and get a job, go out and invest in something, or go out and not card, but go out and do something, with your life. Make a business. Find something you really love and do it. And if you really do love this hobby, then get into the hobby like Theo. Theo's working at an auction house, CIA auction. Big props to CIA, by the way. They uh, they already mailed my check from the last auction, and Theo, I'll be sending some more cards in as soon as I can. But let's help the guys out there, and let's see if we can get some commenters patches. Let's see if we can get some YouTube Hall of Fame commenters for Bob Buzel and Mike Petty. And I would love to see somehow, some way, the commenters. Let's see, the newspaper route. Yeah, $10 a week when they were 12, Lou. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Like Theo said, there's nothing like talking about cars all day. Something you really love. Whatever it is that you love is what you got to get into. Because once you do that, you're not really working anymore. You're just loving what you do. And it's not a job, it becomes fun. And, that's what we need to get our kids to do. Find something that they love, find something they really enjoy doing, and get them to do that. Because even though that, breaking is something you enjoy for a few minutes, it's not something that you can do for life, you know, not for the most part. Hey Dan, we got a foot of snow in New York City. Yeah, they said it's gonna be 2 feet of snow over there. Look at the day here. Beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky. There's a plane flying over there, and I'm sure that plane's not going to New York. That's for sure. I don't know where it's flying to, but it's flying. There it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, yeah. You need to come visit us over here and just sit outside here. It's a beautiful day. It's about a little chilly. It's about 60 degrees here. I guess that's not chilly at all for you guys. So, anybody that has kids, get your kids in the hobby the right way. And if they don't like the hobby, that's okay. You don't want to push them into it, but get them to find something that they really love. something that they want to do for the rest of their life, something that they enjoy doing, whether it's you know working on lawns. Look at Dylan. Dylan loves lawn work. That he does, and he builds koi ponds, and he loves all that stuff, and he enjoys that. And he listens to all the. They'll be listening to this podcast, to this live stream I'm doing later on. I'm sure he'll be commenting on it. But I'd love to see, guys, if the Hall of Fame guys, YouTube Hall of Fame guys, are listening to this, Ray from Philly and Scotty Tradition and Brad, find a way to get the commenters, subscribers, and really friends of ours to have a vote. I would like to have and to see them somehow be able to vote for some of the channels that they like, you know, because I do think that without these commenters and friends and subscribers, we wouldn't be doing this. I mean, I'm not doing it for subscribers, so to speak. I'm doing it for the friends that I made through this YouTube channel. And that, it doesn't matter how many subscribers, you know, sound like Apple Watch they go, yeah, you know, I, it's, we do it for friends, and Dan, when Dan first started, he asked me to be on his channel. And who the hell knew who Dan was? Now he's super famous and he's one of the superstars now. And he's on every single live stream and every single show you see now. He's Mr. Livestream, Mr. He's on everything. But when Dan first started, he was a nobody. And when Dan asked me to be on there, I immediately said, "Yeah, you are super famous. You're everywhere. You're a four collector now, a true four collector. You're not the fifth collector anymore. You're the four collectors. You know, if you watch YouTube and don't have friends in the hobby, you're missing out. Take the hobby to the next level. Yeah, you are somebody. You're definitely somebody to us. You're somebody to me. But when I got on with Dan and did our talk about Cuban cards and Golf Weekend, you know, I just immediately hit it off with Dan, and that's really why I do these. Uh, when I go on with somebody else, and I don't do live streams on my show. I don't even have StreamYard, and I don't even know how to do that stuff. But I love to go on these shows and talk to the newbies and the new guys. You know, the it factor, Dan. Yes, dude. And because you become friends with these guys, and you see that even though we may be different, and Dan's an attorney, and I was just a regular door-to-door salesman most of my life. We're all the same. Yeah, you are awesome, man. We're all the same. We're all collectors, and we all love this hobby. And that's where the friendship begins, for the love of the hobby and the love of collecting. And most of us, and we collected alone most of our lives. So to have someone that you can collect with, you can share pickups with, you can text to, and all that stuff. When I mean, Stoops will text me stuff when they find some Cuban issues things. And, I mean, who would have ever thought, you know, that I could have guys help me with my collection? And Phil Gary always texts me anytime he gets something cool he thinks that I would want, or when he sees something like that, or people like Dean from what is it, 238th and Goodman, where he texts me his pickups. I mean, to me, I'm more thrilled and happy about them getting that pickup than anything could happen. We're all insane, Henry. We are. And here's Henry that's been doing YouTube for over 10 years, you know, and, who would have known that we would have ever been, chatting and become friends and things like that. Yeah, I don't know what his channel means. Look at that. That's driving 7 hours to meet somebody. And Lou from New York, yeah. Lou from New York texted me this morning and shares with me his Walter Payton collection, which is awesome. And he's got an awesome collection to begin with. But just to see some autographed Walter Payton items was a real thrill. So thanks for that, Lou. But just to be able to to have friends. That's really what this YouTube community is all about. It's not the industry, which I think the industry is got to be terrible, but the hobby has become wonderful. And it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I encourage everyone, even if you don't have my friend Chris spends 100 year on TTM. Yeah, TTMing is fun. That's another aspect of the hobby that is great. Thousands, and he says thousands of dollars on TTM. So yeah, you know, and it's great because I've gotten to meet so many people, not even off of YouTube. Just people that are just commenters. The other day I had a guy that came, Jim at the bank, and he comments every once in a while. He's just a commenter, not just a commenter. Ended up being a friend, and he happened to be in South Florida, and we met up for coffee and just spending an hour with him and talking to him, talking about his collection that he never shares and never shows because he doesn't have YouTube. You know, just seeing some of the stuff is some of the most thrilling things about this hobby. And I could just imagine when Petty and Tony and Greg went to see that incredible collection they talked about last night on the Four Collectors channel. Go back and see it, guys. Plug the Four Collectors. They talked about this collection that they went to see. Some guy that has some of the most incredible stuff that you could ever imagine. And he's not on YouTube. He'll never be on YouTube. But that's the way that we have connected. And I will tell you that I have seen some incredible collections. And here in South Florida, there's so many Cuban collectors, and some of them have some of the most incredible cards that you could ever imagine. One of a kind stuff, expensive stuff that I could never afford. But just to get an opportunity to see those cards and to see their collections. And yeah, no videotaping, nothing, just spending the time together. It's just one of the best things ever. Hey, Jay, talk about TTM and who pops up? Jay Pylon, Mr. TTM himself. And, Jay's another great guy that I've been able to hang out with. Yeah, some of our hobby watchers have some amazing collections, you know. And Chris from Missouri talks about Tom and Coop. And, I've been able to not go and see their collection, but I hung out with them at Strongsville. And, they showed me pictures and showed me stuff and we talked about their collections. And Tom and Coop had some incredible collections. And most of the great collections out there, guys, they're not on YouTube. They're in somebody's basement. Not in the lonely basement. Lonely basement, yeah. But they're hidden away. Uh, we get to see some of them. We get to learn about some of these and talk to them because of YouTube, only because of YouTube. So, guys, just heading back home here. So I just wanted to pop on here. It's been an hour. And Greg from Midlife says you shouldn't do videos for over an hour, but it's always a fun thing to talk about the hobby, and that's what I love to do. Yeah, many people are private, and hey, I'm good with that. I was private for many, many, many years, all my life actually, until I started YouTube. Nobody knew what I had. Nobody's ever seen my collection, except my immediate family. But when my dad passed away, and my kids really didn't know anything or didn't really know all the cards that I had, I thought it was a good opportunity for me to do YouTube, to share my collection, to document my collection, and teach my kids because my daughter was the one that helped me start the YouTube channel, and she did my first video, and she still watches my videos, so that at least she and my son know what my collection is and how important it is to me. And it's my mini museum, and YouTube was my way of showing those cards. I never expected to even show my face because I am a private person, and I didn't really want to share much of that. But once the community developed and I got so many friends and I was asked to go on lives or different conversations with different people, it kind of changed my perspective. And I became just a fan of everybody, a fan of all the guys that I've met and their collections. Whether they're small collections or big collections or expensive or inexpensive, it's their collection, it's a reflection of them. And it's just so much fun to see their people's collections and see their face when they show me a card and it's like a smile on faces and stuff. So it's fun. The hobby's fun. It's the fun part of the hobby, and we need to keep the hobby strong. And the connections that we build are what makes this hobby strong and what helps everybody, continue collecting. So let's support everybody. Let's make some friends out there. Let's talk to the young collectors and let's get them to love the hobby as a hobby, not as a place to make money, but enjoy it. And again, it's the best hobby in the world. To me, it's the best way to reduce stress and get away from all these problems that are out there in the world and avoid all the bad news that seems that's all we hear about. So I think I'm done for today, guys. I'm heading back home. Beautiful day in South Florida. I hope you guys enjoyed this nice little live stream. Enjoyed the talk. Appreciate it. Hey, Adam, you guys have a chipper day. And thanks for watching, guys. This is Orlando from the Collector's Dream. Have an awesome, awesome day. And I'll catch you on the next time.